So hello and welcome everybody. I'm Eitan Azaria, a former player of Maccabi Haifa in the Israeli Premier League and also represented Israel over 60 games. And the reason we have this call, I have a special guest. His name is Donald McNaughton. Donald, how are you?
I'm very well, Eitan. Great to be on the call.
Yes, great to have you on the call. So Donald is also known as the sports shrink. Am I right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's not bad. So Donald is a high performance coach. In this call, I will let you, Donald, in a few minutes to talk about yourself and tell you more about what are you doing today. Donald is also the author of the 12 Hidden Law of Performance, which is an awesome book, and we're going to talk about this book in this call. And basically, we're going to talk about why it's so important to have the mental skill in soccer. So, if you're a soccer player and hear this call, so please you can also send us a question. We will leave our mail down this call. But let's start. Donald. Tell us about a little bit about yourself, and let's have a conversation. Let's enjoy.
I first got into mental skills or the psychological aspects of sport about 90. I was always interested in what makes someone successful. And way back in 1982, I went on my first sports psychology course. It was up here in the Highlands of Scotland, and it was run by a couple of psychologists called Christopher Connolly and John Syed. And their book was called Sporting Body Mind. And it just I really got into it. And I thought, God, this is one of the missing links that isn't taught. It isn't taught to footballers and sportsmen. And I grew up playing a lot of soccer, as football we would say over here. But no one ever emphasised the importance of the mental side to me. But I knew it was important. I knew it was really important. Connolly and Sire went on in the 80s to work with Spurs when they were really successful in the 80s with Ricky Villa and Ozzy Ardiles. So they had a lot of credibility to me, and I just fell in love with the subject, really.
And when was the part that you find out that your mental ability was influenced immediately to your performance, your physical performance?
Well, I always remember I was playing football, and I would have been 17, and I was playing for my local town, my local village team, and I was the captain of their under-18 team, and we were playing for 2 trophies, and we were 4-2 down at half time. I remember going into the dressing room, and I'm sure as you recognise, the coach locked the door and just, gave us a right talking to. But we went out in the second half and scored about 6 goals. Now, even at 17, I recognised afterwards we hadn't changed as a team. Our technical ability hadn't changed in 45 minutes. But it was our approach to the game. We got out, we won the second balls, we were more tenacious, our communication got better, and it really got me thinking, what was that difference? And I really recognised that.
So today you are teaching other players, and also in soccer, and also in different area of sports. And maybe for the listeners, maybe we should start by me asking you the question: what is a performance coach?
Well, a performance coach is a coach like myself who integrates not just the technical side of the sport. If we're teaching soccer, so many of the coaches specialise in technical side. Someone's touch or can specialise in tactical awareness. A performance coach like myself integrates, brings together the technical side of the game, the tactical side of the game, as well as the mental side of the game. So I specialise in the mental side of the game and add that into a player's game intelligence and integrate it into their physical performance as well. So a performance coach is very much about seeing the game and seeing a player holistically and as a whole.
I remember I had a game when I was 19 against Valencia. It was the pre-games of the UEFA Cup, and I remember myself. I knew everything I should do. You know, I was physically talented. I was very fast, and I knew everything. And when I go out the game, it was a different thing than I was, than I was trained for. Because they never trained me in the age of 19 to be in the mental tough to be in this game with the skill and play like I was in training. So it was a kind of a shift for me when I started to integrate and learn about the mental skill. And it's very interesting to hear from you what are the mistakes maybe that you see in a soccer players that makes them go out to the field, go out to the match, and not perform as they perform in the training.
Well, I think you described it great there, Ethan. You know, when you ran out against Valencia, what makes a great player, or what happens when you go up to a higher level of performance, what makes the difference is how your technical skills and your tactical awareness holds up under pressure. So you're saying you won't change as a player, but when you ran out and there was 40,000 people shouting at you, you hadn't prepared for it. We know sometimes you get away with it, but sometimes it's like you're caught, aren't you? You're caught, and the mistake is not preparing for it. So sometimes I've worked with teams and players who are used to playing in front of 5,000 people. So they were about to run out and play in front of 50,000 people. So what we would do would be the Wednesday or Thursday before the game, I would get them to think about what it's going to be like when they run out in front of 50,000 people. And not just say, oh, it's going to be really positive, but think, is there a bit of doubt there? Will you feel a bit of nervousness? But then give them a plan when they feel nervous, what to do next.
Okay, so in other words, you say that you put them in the toughness of the moment that they're supposed to be in the game.
Exactly.
Okay, and then after you put them in the tough and in the problem, in the critic problem, you give them a solution.
Exactly. Okay. And it's real, Ethan. It's real, isn't it? You know, that's one of the problems about psychology or mental skills is a lot of players or a lot of coaches think it's woo-woo. You know, it's all about positive thinking.
Yes.
And it's not. It's
especially.
about,
yes, I'm with you.
You know, and it's not just about positive thinking. It's about being real to the challenges you're going to face, and then have a strategy to deal with it.
Yes, because I so agree with you, because players that I work with, I see that they have a great strategy about how it's going to fail. Okay? This strategy they have. And what I found that they have no strategy about how it's going to work under pressure. And this is what we do in our job. Exactly.
I'll tell you a little what I use to do that. I've used in the past. There's a great clip on the Gladiator film.
Okay.
You know the film Gladiator?
Of course,
Maximus, the great general who never lost a battle. Now, what Maximus did before every battle, before he became a gladiator, was to pick the ground up, wrap his hands and smell it. So that's a ritual putting him in a good place before he started the battle. Now, it's the same for a player, isn't it? You know, what's the rituals that get you in place?
Exactly. So what was your first tip now for a soccer player that hear us now? If he had some kind of a pressure or nervousness 2 days before games, what will be your first tip or a tool for him?
I'd say the first tip was I would be aware of what my strengths are. So if I'm in the team, I would think, well, say if I'm a wide attacker, wide player playing left, I would imagine in my mind on the Wednesday, go, I'm going to be in, if I know I'm in the team on a Thursday or a Friday, maybe not rather than the Wednesday if it's a Saturday game, I'm in the team because I'm fast and I go past players. So I will get them to remember in their mind the times where they've taken defenders on, got onto the byline and got the ball across. So I would get them, to remember the times they've been successful. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
And what I would get them to do is think of a trigger that will remind them of that. So I would get them to think of a word, or even when they're looking at their boots, or they're going to run across into the byline. So that's what I would do with them. A key thing I would do next was think, is there anything that could stop me being successful?
Okay.
Yeah? So say when you were playing, if I'm a wide left player, I would want to know who's playing wide on the right for the opposition. Who's the fullback that I'm going to be playing against? What's their, are they strong on the left? Are they strong on the right? Do they like to take me inside? So what's their strengths and what's their weaknesses? So when I run out, I will know where I'm going to maximise my strengths and hit their weaknesses.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like to be prepared for a meeting or some kind of this. Same as a game. Exactly. It's awesome. And from your perspective and view, what makes a top footballer now? What's make a top soccer player now in these days? I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, it was the technical aspect and the talent. And today we are in a different football, in a different soccer. So, from your point of view, what makes a soccer a top footballer today?
I think what makes the top footballer now is the whole package. So as you said, technically you have your technical skills have to be there. You have to have a great touch, but you have to connect that into tactical awareness. So I think game intelligence is so important now. So a player that plays within a whole team system and is able to adapt, I think that is essential now. I think if we go back to the Dutch system in the 70s, the total football, I think that's that's integrated into most countries now, that intelligence football. They have to be an athlete. You touched on it there. The days of being just talented and a genius are gone. So you have to have that talent just in the game, and you have to be mentally tough, because coaches, coaches want players on their team that they can rely on. So I think that's a real important point. Coaches less and less are taking a chance on players. They want the whole package.
Yeah. And today you work also with the teams and players individually. And from your perspective, what you see that is the most important, maybe most important skill that you teach, I mean by the mental skill that you teach players today in order to increase their performance in the field, in the game?
I would say, this sounds really simple, but I think it's really important, is to develop good success habits as early as you can in your career. So I do a lot of work at the youth level. So if I can get a young player at 13 and 14 to develop successful habits around the game, that's like gold. Because what a lot of clubs are having to do is take someone like me in at when the players are 18, 19 and try to get them to unlearn something, which is far more difficult. So develop your habits early, I think, is the key thing. Whether that's preparation, nutrition, develop mental habits in terms of rituals and visualizations, and also accurate evaluation of your performance.
Okay, which means?
Which means afterwards, when the emotion's out of your body, the Monday or Tuesday, looking at what have you done well yourself, looking at it and not just saying, oh, that was great or that was good, thinking, when I did this, when I got the ball wide and I drove up the defender, this allowed me to get past them and get a ball in early, not give us a chance.
Yeah, I think this part is where most of the soccer players drop the ball. They finish the game, and if it's a good game, so okay, I had a good game, and they don't see what was the strategy that makes them to have a good game.
Yeah.
And vice versa, if you had a bad game, so they want to attach from this game and not see what was wrong. And even for myself, I had games that I sometimes when I was young, I didn't want to see the tape or the replay of the game. And then I understand, which is a huge problem, because maybe the bad games and the games that I was, my performance was not so well. This is the best game to improve. Yeah. So this is one of the skills that you are teaching today. I think it's awesome, and we talk a lot, and you also teach players how to control their emotions and thoughts. And maybe we should talk about this, because I think this is one of the key of performance in the game. So maybe you give us your view about this.
I think there's a bit a bit of a myth about our thoughts. So we have about, on average, when we're awake, 60,000 thoughts a day. So that's incredible. Thoughts just coming and going. So to actually think positive all the time is very difficult, if not, impossible.
Yeah.
So what I teach, before players go on the park, is to have an awareness of thoughts come and go. And notice, what are the thoughts that take you away from a good performance? So the thoughts that take you away from a good performance perhaps is, I can't do it, or I feel tired, or the defender got the better of me the last time. So that's all thoughts that close you up.
Mm-hmm.
And then notice the thoughts that open you up to a good performance, which are thoughts that I can do it, thoughts that I played well, thoughts that, I'm on my game, thoughts that go out and enjoy it. We all know that how we speak to ourselves in the head creates feelings in our body. So I teach players to have an awareness of how their thinking affects how they feel. So think, feel, and then how they play when they go out there. Yeah. So, for example, you'll know as well, when you were in the tunnel going out against Valencia, sometimes the thoughts in your head might take it somewhere negative or something doubtful. But sometimes I'm sure you would have had positive thoughts. You might have thought, whoa, listen to the crowd, this is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
It changes.
Yeah, so what you're saying, in other words, that we should be aware, and a soccer player should be aware and hold the thoughts that make him feel that he is capable, and make him feel good, and make him feel confidence.
Yeah.
And it's a work. It cannot happen in 1 day or 2 days or 1 week. And from your work, how long it should take, or how long in average it takes for a player to make a change from a soccer player that, the negative thoughts is always crossing his mind, and after a mistake he tell himself, the inner chat that, I'm a bad person, and what should I do now, and the coach is about to swoop me. And so from your work, how long it takes, so what are you doing, how you see it?
I think sometimes I'll tell you a story in a minute about how quickly things can change, but also over a period of time you're wanting, again, just to develop the habit. So over a few weeks and a month, you're not just wanting to have a one-off, you're wanting to change that so that becomes part of who you are as a player and a person. So, for example, I'll give you the best metaphor or analogy I know about that is, most people don't brush their teeth magnificently once a week for half an hour.
Yes.
They brush their teeth a couple of times a day anyway, and that becomes a habit, a healthy habit. So we're wanting to develop awareness over a period of time, and then do little habits every day. Little habits every day, awareness of our thoughts, when it takes us to a good place, when it takes us to a bad place. Then over a period of time, that becomes like a mental muscle that's really strong, just like going to the gym. Now, so over a period of time, a few weeks, a month, that starts to become who you are. and then you can go on to something else. But sometimes it changes just, you know, in a day. And I remember my favourite law in my book is Law 12. Champions recognise the champions within. Yeah. Now, what that means is we've got all we need within us. It doesn't mean we don't have to train, but we have so much power and talent that if we work at it, it comes out and we focus it and we get results. But so often, people will say, I'll train harder when I get in the first team.
Yeah.
You recognise that one? So, I was speaking to a player, an under-19 player, and we were having a conversation, and I said, how's it, you know, what's happening with you? And he said, oh, you know, it's just, the manager's not giving me a break and all this. And I said, well, what could be happening? And he says, he said, my attitude's not great. And I said, well, is your attitude, what could you do about your attitude? He says, well, I know I could try harder, but once I get a break and in the first team, I'll try harder then. Yeah, you reckon, you know, once I get this, if I get a contract, then I'll do it. And of course, it doesn't work like that. And all I said to him was, look, trust me in this. I would like you tomorrow go out and train and play as if you were a first team player. Yeah? Yeah. So next day, he went out and he played a game for the under-19s in front of 40 people. Okay? And his manager was watching him. And he didn't know his manager was watching him. And his manager said he was like a different boy. That was on the Friday. On the Saturday, based on that performance and that change of attitude, he ran out in front of 55,000 people for the first team.
Amazing. Yeah. Same guy, same talent, same abilities, different approach, and he can perform better in 10x, 100x more.
Yeah. And it's all there, isn't it? It's all there.
Yeah, I can see it every time with players from the age of 13 to 26 and 30, and it's amazing. And I wrote this story in your book, which you've written. Maybe we should talk about this book because it had lots of great and simple content, and I think you should tell us about the book a little bit.
Well, the book is the 12 hidden laws of performance, and it kind of unfolded through my work in sport and in football and life. And what I noticed was there was several actions, several laws that if people adhered to it, people did and believed and acted as if they were true, it got them success. So the first one is, you know, a great performance is an inspired performance. So when we're connected to something bigger than us a lot of the time, when we remember and we're around people that makes us feel good, people that sees in us sometimes things that we can't see in ourselves, we become bigger, we become stronger. We do things that perhaps we didn't think within ourselves we could do. So that, you know, I love that. Yeah, I'm sure you know it. You know coaches, you've worked with coaches that when you're in their presence, you think, I can do that.
Yeah. And I'm very connecting to this law because one of my biggest tips I see that works every time with a soccer player is when a soccer player is very stressed before game. And then he called me or something like this, and the first question I asked him, give me a bigger goal than you have now. Give me a bigger goal to this game that you have now. He say, I want to win. I say, no, it's not big enough. So think big, think more big. He said, okay, I want to be in a better team. I told him, no, think big. And then he said something like, I want to be in the national team. And then it makes him feel so big that this game is kind of a regular game that he is a mean to the end. And then it becomes less stress. And I think it's a great law. And if a soccer player that hears us now can take it, so think about the biggest goal before game and not and don't see this game as win or lose, as never or nothing, you know. Okay.
And I think that's a great one, and that feeds in, you know, into one of the other laws about really kind of performance is up and down. You have to keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
So if we, and you know what players are doing, if you have a bad game, it's as if the world is only 90 minutes, and if I had my bad game, the world's collapsing. And the only time I'll feel good again is then until I have a good game, and then it goes away.
Yes.
You know, my whole week's ruined until I get another good game.
Yeah, my whole week, my whole life, family, and relationship, and everything is bad, and the food is not good, and yeah.
You know what? And in order then, what we have to do is we have to almost have a helicopter view and realise that just because I'm feeling like that just now, if I look at my career over a longer period of time, as you said, it puts it in perspective.
Yeah. So what is your tip from this law, which is such important law about the ups and downs?
Yeah. I think if my big tip is that the only way to learn, it's impossible to learn if you're scared of making mistakes. You know, so it comes back to evaluating performance. It's the only way we learn. You know, it's the only way we learn. You know, when you're a kid, to learn to walk, you fall down tens of thousands of times. But as we grow older, you get back up again and you walk. And you know, after thousands of times you're able to walk, but you've fallen down. But as we get older, we start to put more meaning on what it means to fail.
Yeah.
So my tip is, don't be scared of making a mistake. Don't be scared of failing. You mightn't like it, but don't be scared of it, because when you put it in perspective and take a learning from it, that's how you're going to improve. Yeah? So that would be my main tip, is you have to make mistakes.
Yeah.
No, you know, you're not going out deliberately to make a mistake in a game, but hey, we all do it. You have to be courageous, Ethan. You have to be courageous.
Yeah, I agree with you so much. Definitely in soccer. Yeah. So true. And maybe we should talk about, give us another law that you see, which is one of your...
I suppose the other thought is one of the other laws I love, it's about creating a positive vibe.
Yeah.
And the positive vibe is, again, about how we think affects how we feel. So when I'm running out to the field, I said you couldn't think positive all the time. Remember I said that?
Yeah.
So it's impossible to think positive all the time. But it's possible to think positive for 90 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that's it.
And especially in the important minutes, 5 minutes before the game, 12 minutes in the warming up.
Yeah.
We control our thoughts. This is one of your biggest messages, and I think it's wonderful. And every player should know that he really control his thoughts.
Yeah.
And this began all the spiral.
It does, exactly. We're wanting the spiral to go up the way. So positive thoughts create positive feelings. So when I'm running out, I want the players I work with saying to themselves, you know, perhaps I'm strong, I'm fast, I tackle well.
Yeah.
What are the qualities, and this comes down to knowing your strengths as a player. What is my qualities that when I'm playing well, I want to come out into that park? And keep on saying them to them. My touch is good. I look for the ball.
Yeah.
So I'm reinforcing that the whole time.
Definitely. What I would also do is remembering with the player his best achievers. You know, small achievers that he had in the past, and then he can remember. And it's like when you're writing in a pen and you forget to write, and it's spread out all of the paper. It's also with our thoughts. So when a player gets remembered for his best game he had 2 years ago, 1 year ago, a week ago, and he go up to the game with these thoughts, it's automatically get him feel confidence.
Exactly. And it's like carrying. You want to carry. It's like your own positive iTunes in your head. You don't want to have your own iTunes in your head with all your positive performances and check into it. Because how many players have their own iTunes library in their head and then flick it to the horror section?
Yeah.
You know? get it to the epic section. Get it to the epic, great performance sections and play that, as you say.
Yeah. Let's talk about self-confidence. I think it's one of the biggest challenges of the soccer players to develop the self-confidence and the feel of a capability to perform like they perform in a training. So let's make maybe a definition from your side. What is self-confidence?
For me, self-confidence is about knowing that I'm going to go out and I'm capable of doing my best. You know, I'm capable of achieving what I have to achieve. But sometimes people's definition of self-confidence keeps them in a box.
Okay.
Right? So they're almost wanting a guarantee of being successful, if that makes sense. So they're saying, I'll feel confident when I'm guaranteed I'm going to get the contract, or I'm guaranteed we're going to win, or I'm guaranteed. You know, I want the players I work with have self-confidence to know that my self-confidence is going to be real. You know, it has to be real. It's not kind of BS. So self-confidence is based on how hard I've trained, how hard I've prepared, you know, what's my current skill level, but also what I'm capable of doing in the future. So I'm wanting my players to be curious about themselves. I want them to be curious about just how good can you be. Yeah. But also I'm wanting them to be confident that if it doesn't go well, they can cope.
Exactly.
Yeah? So I'm wanting them to be resilient and mentally tough. Because the other team's going to be coming out, and you know that, the other team's going to be coming out the same.
Yeah, the same, and play hard to win. Yeah.
Hard to win, isn't it? So confidence, for me, is all about preparation, capabilities and effort as well.
So when you work with a player or a team on confidence, on self-confidence, what are the parameters? How you do it? Maybe you should give us a example or a tip for developing
when
this.
I'm working on confidence for a player, the first thing I'll do to them is what we were talking about earlier. What is your strengths?
Yeah.
So I want them to be really aware of what their strengths are.
Yeah, just to find out what are their best, the best capabilities.
Yeah, definitely. You know what? I say to young players, under 18s, under 19s, you know that even 16s, 17s, we're looking for contracts.
Yes.
And I said, why should the coach pick you?
Great question. Great question.
Why should the coach pick you?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know,
the coach definitely won't.
doesn't know. So you have to be bigger, strong. You have to have something. You know, if I take a tennis analogy, you have to have a weapon. You have to have the equivalent of a stroke that's going to hurt other people. So perhaps it's my pace. Perhaps it's my mental toughness. Perhaps it's my confidence. Perhaps it's my teamwork. But I have to know that.
Yeah, and I think it's a great question that every soccer should ask himself, and maybe the soccer player in the call should ask themselves, what is your, how we say it, it's it's a competitive advantage that you have on other players, which can give you, and some players try to find their competitive advantage in a place that they don't have. So they want to be faster and they don't have this capability. So they have to find it in what they have and not in what they don't have. So
exactly. I'll give you an example of that. Imagine now, say, working with a holding midfield player.
Okay.
And one of the things, say, they're saying, right, what's your strengths? And you say their strengths is, well, I'm physically fit, I've got a good engine, I'm up and down the park, you know, I can make killer passes. You know, and then you think, oh, so when you make killer passes, do they always come off? You know, well, sometimes.
Sometimes.
So what, as a holding midfield player, what does that leave you open to? Well, it leaves me open to getting caught on the ball or giving the ball away in a deep position.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a great example of what you're saying is sometimes wanting to be something we're not.
Exactly. and I think this is very where lots of a soccer player drop the ball. Very, it's a very problem, and I see it especially here in Israel with the players. They want to improve some qualities that, like you said, we should focus on the strength and not on what we shouldn't focus at the moment, because this is the start. Okay, so we talk about strength.
And then the second one is what we're talking about then. So we always work out of our strengths, but we also minimize our weaknesses so they don't hurt us.
How we do it?
So you would say, I'll go for the other example is, I've got an attacking midfield player who his inclination is always to push forward. He wants to get into the last third and get the ball across. So I would say to him, what's your strengths? And he would say, I've got a good engine, I like getting forward, I like beating players. And I said to him, well, what would be your weaknesses then? What do you think the coach says to you? And what he might say is, well, I don't track back. I don't track back.
Yeah.
So what I would say to him then is, what you have to realise, what you want to work on then is minimise that tendency not to work backwards so it doesn't hurt you. So you have to track back and make that part of your game so you don't give the coach an excuse to drop you.
Definitely. Yeah.
So all the time we're looking at minimising my strengths so it's a great platform that I can minimizing my weaknesses so it's a great platform that I can play out on my strengths.
Okay.
We're balancing that the whole time. Now, what I say to them is, what that does to your confidence is, you know your strengths, you play out of your strengths, but you're not vulnerable to your weaknesses. So that reduces the self-doubt.
Great, and then you create a balance between the weaknesses and also the strength that you have.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's, if I come down to then you play out of that, it's controlling the controllables.
Yeah.
So it's you, what can you control?
Great. We had a question from a soccer player that he asked, he said that he's a right back, and he feel that every time he's very, the coach is very respect him, and he's very good player, also the captain, and in this position he feels that there is too much of an expectation to him to be good all the time, and this make him stress, in games. Like they have the left side back that they are sure that he will take care of him and everything will be okay. And sometimes he got a goal from his side, so and then the balance that you talk about is going down to the negative spiral. So what are we doing for him? What is your
expectations then? Expectations a lot of the time will create stress because we think about them. Okay. So an expectation is something that, remember, if I take my thinking is, I'm starting to think about what is expected of me.
Yeah. Okay.
So rather than playing to my game, I start to think what's expected of me. And in a certain way, that it's not so much it doesn't exist, but I put my focus on the expectation rather than my game. Yeah?
So in the example that we say, so this kid put his expectation about what others or what the coach want him to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And what you find a lot of the time, Ethan, is expectations aren't clearly stated. So a lot of the time they're unsaid. Okay. So the coach, I don't say you have to take command of the whole back four, but I look at you, and I look at you, and then the right back thinks, he's looking at me, and he's expecting me to do this, this, and this.
Yes.
Yeah? So what I do when I'm working with teams is sit down with teams and work on units, defence, midfield, and attack, and be really clear about what are the standards that are accepted within the units.
Okay.
Yeah, so what are the standards? What do we agree that we have to be for each other. And they're clearly stated. And that's different from expectation.
Awesome. And for an individual that you know, that don't work with the mental coach, and the team don't work with the mental coaches, you know, he's an individual, and it's a problem that he have by himself. So so how you work with an individual on this part or this problem?
I think it's what we were speaking about. It's thinking, getting the thoughts out of our head and down on paper. So here's a real
great.
A great performance tool here that costs $1. Just get yourself a notebook, write down, you know, things about how you train, how you play, evaluate your performance, think about your own standards. Yeah? So I'm wanting to you know, what's my percentages of past completions, what's the standards you want to do, how do I want to communicate, where am I tripping myself up, you know, where am I getting in my own way, which means when I'm playing the game, when am I positive, and when do I start after the game, when do I notice that I go into a grey area or in a negative area? And afterwards, on the Monday or the Sunday, just write down a few of your thoughts. And it takes it from out here, where it gets arms and legs sometimes,
down
into the world.
I call it the big player and the small player. You know, we have a thought of a big player, and we have the thought of the small one, and the gray area that you speak about. I think it's one of the most challenges areas to acknowledge during game. You know, and maybe these players, if you hear us now, so maybe beside your great tip to put the thoughts down, and then when you put the thoughts down, so see where is the thoughts that make you feel big, and where is the thought that make you focus on the expectations.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's a great way to put it. When am I a bigger version of a big player, and when am I a small player? How many players do we know, Ethan, that say, my whole game is going to be dependent on my first touch?
On my first touch, my first pass,
Yeah.
It's a great example, and a huge mistake of a player.
Huge.
And they put not all of the confidence and also the self-concept and self-evaluation on this first pass. And then, like you said, the spiral of the negative thoughts is going on and on and on, and they finish the game in the...
I know.
So
if I wrap that up in terms of our thinking and the tips there about confidence, remember, confidence is always a focus issue.
It's
always a focus issue.
It's a great one.
You know, it's the only way we can do it. When I feel a bigger version of myself, a big player, I'm focusing on the things that make me feel good. When my confidence is dipping, I'm focusing on the things that make me feel small.
Right. And I think we should also say that we are controlling our thoughts, which is a great tip and great principle to remember before we go out to the game.
Definitely.
Okay,
it's great to say there. Remember that some of the things we're talking about for everyone, and everyone that listens to this will recognise this. Some of the techniques and the strategies we talk about are really simple. Not always easy to do. You know, the heat of battle, not always easy. So that's why we practice them. That's why we do them every day. So maybe a meditation, a visualization, evaluation. So that becomes part of us. So our job comes back to, it's about how being human affects our performance. Because everyone's human. So it's how we think, how we feel affects a performance environment.
That's it's really, a huge saying. How we are human affects our performance as a soccer player. And by that, it's also very simple. It is. And for the players that hear us now what was your recommendation about the preparation before game? Let's say, let's take a week in a life of in a career of a soccer player. Okay, so what was your recommendation about preparing before games?
Well,
Based
I would
on what we
say,
talk now.
if in this country we play on a Saturday, well, it's changing now.
Let's say it's Saturday. The game is Saturday. We are in Sunday.
So, I think from the Saturday after we played on a Sunday, you want to have a time in your mind actually when you cut off from the performance. So I heard a real good. This is not always easy to do. I heard that it was a great basketball coach, I think, said that if he was playing on Saturday and they won, depending on the win or loss, he would allow himself to feel the feelings until midnight. So if they lost, he would go.
Yeah, he gave himself permission to be sad. Yeah.
Yeah, until midnight. At midnight, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, and also when he wins.
Exactly, when he wins, positive, but then he gets in. You know, he gets in Sunday and he gets into Monday. You know, we all we're competitive, aren't we? We love the feeling of winning.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
You can't be scared of losing. Yeah. So what I would say is have a cut-off time. Monday, Tuesday, you're looking to evaluate your performance.
Which means, okay, yeah, I'm with you.
I would say Monday or Tuesday, whether yourself or with the team, once the emotion is gone, because the emotion colours our memories, do a little evaluation yourself. What have I done well? What could I improve on? Be specific. Set yourself some training goals. Yeah? Don't be proactive. Don't wait on the coach. Within my training sessions, what am I wanting to work on? So the coach will be giving you tactical stuff to work on, but perhaps you do an hour extra, or within the game when you get an opportunity, you work on your weaker foot, if you've got a weaker foot, or you work on something that will increase your strengths and minimise your weaknesses.
Perfect.
Choose friends. Obviously, a lot of players in this club have a Wednesday off, or play a bit. Have a bit of time to chill out. So we all
in the middle, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we all need the contrast, don't we? We all need the difference. Come Thursday, Friday, you're going to be starting to prepare yourself for the game, the upcoming game. So you're starting to ramp up, perhaps on the Thursday, your intensity level, you're working on different things, you're starting to think about the game on Saturday. So I would coming Thursday and Friday, start thinking about who I'm playing against, giving yourself some little goals. All through the week, doing your visualizations and your self-talk exercises. I encourage my players to meditate. You know, I've worked at clubs, Premier League clubs here, where on a Thursday we finished our session by breathing, meditation, visualization. You can imagine what players are like with that.
Yeah. I should see this to believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
It was incredible. It was incredible. You know? And, but they got into it because we seen the success. We were doing well.
Right.
So, and it's appropriate, but I said, at least individually you should be doing this.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a habit. Thursday, Friday. Saturday for the game, you should be doing the same things. So you'd be starting having rituals, nutrition, bed early, you know, getting up, similar breakfast. Have a routine from travelling away to travelling before. Going to the park. Have a ritual, and I'm sure most people are listening to this will have a ritual in the dressing room. But make a ritual about getting yourself into your ideal performance state.
I think this is a big one. And if every player that hears us now, I think should take it and implement it right away to Saturday game. I think this is one of the biggest. I see how change it makes for me and for other players, to get to the role of a bigger one, like you said, the gladiator. He entered to the role of the performance. He don't care about. The training is finished. So he said to himself, training is finished. Now it's time to enjoy and play by my intuition. I think it's a big one. I think it's a big
like you're a big player. I talk about the players I play with is the inner player. You don't want, by the time they run out onto the park, you don't want to access their inner player, which that is instinctive. The time for practice is gone.
Yes.
So they're playing and thinking and coaching themselves at the appropriate moment.
This is a big mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, it was great to hear Wayne Rooney speaking. You hear Rooney speaking. He says, I've visualised all my life.
Yes, from the age of 6 years old, he was visualizing. Yeah.
And I still do it. We all do it, don't we?
Yeah.
Who am I playing against?
Yeah.
I see my little 9-year-old boy doing it out in my garden, schooling, and
Yes. The problem that we get older and we think it's a dumb thing to visualize and think about the game, and this is the best thing that can provide the player the mental toughness and the confidence. And I think every player should see the strength that we have in visualization.
Huge. I'll give you an example of that. One of the coaches that I used to work with and the manager was an incredible striker. He scored about 500 goals for a top Premier club here in the UK. 400 or 500 goals. And he used to say to me, he says, Donald, I used to visualise who I was playing against the whole time. I used to visualise myself scoring goals. And I never scored the goal I visualised. So what happened? Why did he score goals? Because when we visualise, we pre-play the game before. So it's priming our unconscious mind for signals and cues on the park. So when a defender moves slightly to left, his unconscious mind would see the space and move instinctively, and he would be on the end of something.
Yes, it's a very important point that when we are saying to visualize, we don't say that when you come to the game it will be exactly as you no, we just preparing the mind to be ready for the right moment. And this is a great. I thank you for saying it. I think it's very important because we don't want you to be a perfect and try. I call it to try to fix the game as you like. Because it's never like this. We have to be ready to the moment. We have to be ready with our intuition. So this is the main point of visualization, and you should put it in the table like it is.
It is, because you know when you coach and train, and when you're playing midfield, for example, an effective midfield player wants as many pictures in his mind, in his unconscious mind, of how the game's unfolding. Yeah. So unconsciously he sees the pass, isn't he? It's off.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes, we're wanting to enhance that. That's what visualization does.
Great. Okay, Don, we are up to the hour.
That sounds good.
So first of all, thank you very much for your time. We will see you, and we will see you in the next episode of our special coaching call.
That's good. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so it was
we
great.
Speak about football all night.
Yes, we can speak. Yeah, if there was a night, we can speak all day. Yeah. So exactly. So Don, thank you very much. And for the listeners, thank you very much. We will send you down our email if you want to ask question, and in the next episode we will answer your questions. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Cheers.